Oh, I guess I don't have an overlay, and it says it's recording, so we're going. We're live.
Hey, welcome to the show. Hey, we're just got a chit chat here. Me and Colby, a little double team action here. That's what he said.
Double team with a dream.
We're Eiffel Towering this shit today.
Yep. Kyle had a dentist appointment, or he's on dad duty. Rachel had a dentist appointment, I think, is what he was saying. He might pop in here. We don't know, but the show must go on.
The show must go on.
And we tested the recording. It looks like it's working. Audio sounded good, so I think we're killing it. We could probably call it a show now and be good.
Thanks for joining us today, guys. We were just making sure we knew how to do this. Have yourself a good day.
The first thing the Burns and I want to talk about is some internet justice. Have you been following? I don't know if this is even like something people have been following other than me and my buddies, but the guy from Empire, Jesse Smollett, whatever his name is, the one that got attacked in Chicago. Have you heard about that at all?
No.
Okay. All right. Let me set the stage here. I'm going to take the mic off for this. All right. So I believe it was a few weeks ago. I might butcher a little bit of the timeline here, but that's fine. So this guy's on the show Empire. He's gay on the show, gay in real life, black dude. And he said at 2 a.m. he was in Chicago getting a sandwich, and he was attacked by two men. White men wearing Trump MAGA hats. They said a bunch of racist stuff to him, told him it was MAGA country, and they threw an unknown substance on him. They also put a noose around his neck, right?
Yeah.
So the story goes obviously super viral out the gate. TMZ posts this headline, and now here's where internet justice is happening.
Can I just make a prediction?
Oh, of course, 100%. By the way, this dude's like a main big guy. Like he's.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess fake.
Okay, I'm gonna break this down a little bit. So when this comes out, this headline happens, and someone posted it in my group chat, and I said, I really don't want to be the guy who's saying like a racist attack is fake because you never want to like side with that. But I go, this headline reads and spells out like how I used to write headlines when I wanted to get a little more juice in my click, you know? And I explained it. I broke it down like line by line. I'm like, so when they added in here like the two white Trump supporters, like that's a great headline. That makes a great story. But the problem is, and I said this from the jump, I go, the problem is what MAGA country Trump supporter guys out there in Chicago at 2 a.m. who would recognize this guy and know that he's the star of Empire. I'm like, that just doesn't make sense. So people are like, yeah, we'll see how it happens, you know, yada, yada, yada. So then like it takes the route. So before I get to the end here, it takes the route of the celebrities start coming in. They're like, oh, this guy, like, this is not okay, yada, yada, yada. Like, we need to stand with this guy. And so everything. And then there's the narrative of, well, Trump won't even say anything about this because yada, yada, yada. Like, he wants it. So then Trump actually says something about it. That's awful, yada, 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 all that. All these people are supporting this guy. This guy has his concert or show, whatever. And on the stage, he's like, yeah, and I fought back because we need to fight back in this country, yada, yada, yada. And then everyone's cheering. And he literally says this. I'm not making it up. You can look it up. He goes, I'm the gay Tupac. So then that was the next headline was like how, you know, he calls himself the gay Tupac, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, so at this point, the story's still real. Yeah. And then it starts getting a little bit of, all right, here's where the internet justice comes in, where people are like, all right, this doesn't make sense. And they're like a thread, and they start going through the thing. He wouldn't turn his phone over to the cops. And he's like, I don't want to. It makes me feel like I'm not a victim. I'm a suspect. They're like, no, we just want to like see your phone so we can see like maybe where you were exactly, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so it goes on. He's still claiming it's real. He hasn't really done like an interview or anything like that. But then here's where now this was 3 or 4 days ago. They find the two people, right, from this one grainy surveillance footage. And the Jesse dude says 100% these are the guys, right? Yeah. In a grainy thing. Turns out they're Nigerian. So that was pause there. Nigerian. When I read the first headline, what did I say, Burns? It was two white MAGA dudes?
Two white guys. Oh yeah, did he pay them to do this?
Okay, so you're putting it all together here. Yeah. So here's how stupid this is. They were not just two Nigerian guys he might have met at the subway and do this like randomly. They were extras on the show Empire. Not only that, he follows them on Instagram, and then more and more starts coming out. So they arrest him. These guys turn their phones over. They're like, we didn't, like there's more to this story. Their lawyers like more of this story will come out, yada, and they get released. And everyone's like, well, if they got released, obviously like the cops know something's not right. Yeah. And then the day they get arrested, the Jesse dude has a heartfelt crying interview on Good Morning America come out. Where he's like, I don't know why people don't believe me. It's the truth. Like, I'm speaking the truth. And like just goes off and all these things. Contradicts his story again on this one. Says he like punches the dude back. Yada, yada, yada. So anyway, that's where it was at today, or as of yesterday. And now everyone on Twitter is like putting all the pieces together, and he's like the total prime suspect, and definitely looks like he paid these dudes to do it.
So should he be arrested for filing a false police report then? Did he like report the police?
Oh yeah. He did the full. So think about how much so Chicago is I've watched stuff about how Chicago's like gang violence and guns and all that stuff is like.
Depends where you are in Chicago, really. If you're in the city, you're fine. But but
what I'm saying is like the cops have more stuff that they should be worrying about.
Yeah.
There's probably so many man hours that have been going in, so they tracked like ATM cameras, store cameras, trying to put together where these dudes' locations were. It's not like how everyone thinks in the movies where I can just sit here and be like, hey, Bank of America, let me get your cameras. Like someone probably had to physically go there, find that time. Get
a warrant for the surveillance.
Yeah, so it's like not only did he file these police reports and whatnot and go on Good Morning America and say it's true and get all these people riled up about it on the internet, but he took all the cops' time. They could have been doing real police work.
What else that does too is that if this actually happened to him, that's a terrible thing to happen.
Yeah, that's what I always say.
So now that he made it up, if something similar happens to someone for real,
yep.
Now all of a sudden you have this doubt that's put in there.
Well, people always say that about people like rape victims who will call rape. And then it'll end up they just did it for whatever, and then people get really upset because it's like now people are less or domestic violence is a better example.
Yeah, now you're less likely to report it because if it really happens to you, because no one's going to believe you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this situation just magnifies more because I even said it when I first said I was like I really hope this didn't happen to him, but the way that this is all worded almost seems. Again, this is going to come out wrong, but it's the only way to say it. It almost seems too good to be true as far as like a headline comes from.
Yeah.
Like you don't get a home run headline like that where it's a racist, gay, Trump supporter in Chicago abuse thing. Like that's just too many like, oh, this is and then when they came out and they weren't white, it's like that should have been the end of the story, but he doubled down and went on Good Morning America. Like there's
you're making it more difficult for someone that actually happens to.
Yeah, so Nancy Pelosi, she deleted her tweet today, and then so everyone screenshotted. Like she obviously supported him back in the when it was happening, saying how wrong it was, yada yada yada. People aren't safe. All these other people, like actors and stuff that were supporting him and everything, are deleting their messages and like Instagram posts. So it's almost like the PR people know what's coming, and they're telling them to like get ahead of it and delete all their stuff. So I'm interested to see how tomorrow goes or whatever, because there's what's funny is the police sources that we're talking were like, we thought it was a fishy story, or they thought it was a fishy story because what I said, like what Chicago Trump fan watches the show Empire, and of course Ken was like, "What's Empire?" Like, see, there you go. So anyway, internet justice start the show off. It's pretty crazy how quick they pieced it together.
So another fun topic. So last night I finally saw the movie Vice. I've been wanting to see it for a long time. The one that kind of follows Dick Cheney's life.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, super good.
Super good. Is it? Which one's the one on Netflix? Is that one?
No, that's the Big Short. The same people that made it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, this one's got it's got Sam Rockwell plays Bush, and then it's got why can't I think of his Christian Bale.
I was gonna say Christian Bale
plays Dick Cheney. They'll probably win Best Makeup. Whoever was the makeup artist on all this, so
killed it.
But like, it was crazy just how much of a scumbag everyone around Bush was. Like, just he basically was like. So he started like he was in politics a long time before he was the vice president. Like he was the chief of staff for Gerald Ford. Donald Rumsfeld was like Secretary of Defense, and then there was like a bunch of other people that were just around him. And like Bush was kind of known, like when his dad was president, George Bush Jr. was kind of known as kind of like the party animal, kind of not very bright,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
he
yeah, yeah, yeah.
kind of rose to power because of his dad or whatever. And they kind of knew that he was kind of dumb. And so when Bush comes and asks Cheney to be vice president, they were kind of like, well, we can kind of just like, we know he's kind of dumb and doesn't want to do the work. We'll just like tell him, yeah, I'll take the vice presidency, but I want to handle like foreign policy. I want to do all the bureaucratic stuff. And you kind of just sit there and just, you just do the speeches and all that.
Yeah.
And so like they were basically, it's kind of hard to go through the entire movie and all like the scummy things they did, but basically they were trying to figure out, they always wanted to invade Iraq, always.
Yeah.
And so 9/11 happened, and it was Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, Osama bin Laden, but they're like, we got to find a way to like, because everyone's like, yeah, everyone around him was like, nah, we can't go into Iraq. They have nothing to do with this. It's a sovereign nation. Yeah, Saddam's a bad person, but like we don't have a reason to really go in there. So Dick Cheney's like trying to find all these reasons. And so he finds this one guy. He's like, dude, there's this one guy. I can't remember his name at the top of my head. Some part of a terrorist organization. He met with Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan. And everyone around him was like, yeah, but they don't like each other. They have like disagreements. And so he fled to Iraq. He's like, that's the only way we need to get in. And so this guy was basically a nobody. And then he hears the big speech. They go on and do like a big speech about this guy's in Iraq, and he had connections to Osama bin Laden to try to get the public on their side to go to Iraq. This guy was like a nobody. He sees the speech, and he's like, all right, I guess I'm a big shot now. And he started ISIS.
That's the dude. I remember reading more about like how they used 9/11 to get into Iraq, and it's just crazy how it all happened. It seems,
And so
I want to see that movie because I liked The Big Short, and I think Christian Bale's a good actor.
Yeah, and then Steve Carell was Donald Rumsfeld.
So they brought all the same dudes back into it.
There's a lot of the same people in there. So like they also found a way. So there was like they had like a constitutional lawyer who like was interpreting the Constitution in a really weird way. Kind of like, he was like, there's something that you can kind of twist the Constitution into it where the president can do whatever he wants and it's not against the law. So their argument was like, if the president does it, there's no way it can be illegal, which is kind of like a bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So they were just like writing all these articles and was like, yeah, he can just do whatever he wants. We don't have to get Congress approval to go to war. We're just going to do it.
Isn't it kind of cool that like, so all that stuff wouldn't live in a history book? Like, so you couldn't do that now back in school and like teach it, but now you watch that movie.
Now there's a bunch of other stuff that could go in, but there was like one part that I was like, holy shit, this dude is a fucking scumbag. So Dick Cheney has 2 daughters, all right?
Yeah.
So when he was younger, like he was raising his daughters, they were like getting all into politics or whatever. And then this came up when he was about to run for vice president or be George Bush's vice president, was that his daughter came out gay. Mm-hmm. So his daughter is a lesbian, and like their side is like against gay marriage and all that. So at first I was feeling like, oh, Dick Cheney's a good guy kind of thing, because he was like, I accept you for who you are as my daughter or whatever. And then he had to tell George Bush, he's like, I know you have to be on the side against gay marriage, but my daughter's gay, so you just leave her out of it. I'm kind of in the background as the vice president. You can't really bring me into it and like let people attack his daughter or whatever. Fast forward, his other daughter runs for House of Representatives in his home state of Wyoming. Is my internet still here? My internet's been kind of bumming out.
Yeah, you just came back. I still heard you the whole time.
Okay, so like his other daughter wanted to run for House of Representatives in Wyoming, and as a Republican, and all of a sudden there was attack ads being like, well, we're supposed to be against gay marriage and her sister is gay. Reverend Dick Cheney was just like, just say you're against it, go against it, or whatever. So basically like fucking like threw his other daughter
under the bus.
Yeah.
That's kind of shady.
So they so like basically just like threw under the bus for power.
That's messed up. Cheney's the one that shot himself, right?
He shot his friend.
Shot his friend, that's what it was.
You know what's the craziest part about that? So he shoots his friend, right? And then he gets like a bunch of media flack being like, dude, what's this irresponsible out there? He's shooting his friend out on a hunting trip or whatever.
Yeah.
He never apologizes to his friend. His friend gets on TV and apologizes to him.
Oh my gosh, that is funny.
It's like, what? He's like, I'm
I
sorry
wonder.
for everything Dick Cheney's family has gone through. It's like, he's the one that shot you.
I wonder if they like went and watched the movie, like his daughters and stuff, or if they were like, nope, we're just gonna skip this one. Like, that's crazy that people have taken like such good records of the thing, and then they can turn it into like a movie that, like I was saying, like it's better than you ever read in a textbook. Like you can feel like you're actually like you were in it. Like that's like the Bundy stuff.
Yeah.
Like the Bundy stuff nothing's changed. It happened so long ago.
Yeah.
But when you watch how they produced it on Netflix or this new Zac Efron movie, it's almost like, whoa, this is crazy. It's almost
so like when another like scumbaggy part is like is when they had to like convince like their allies to go to Iraq with them or whatever. They had to like have all this evidence of why they need to go in, why they need our allies' help and everything like that. And everyone's like, all of our intelligence is crap. It's not been verified. Some of it's false. Like we can't. It just doesn't make any sense. And so they had Colin Powell, who was the Secretary of State at the time, I think. He went in front of the UN and just like gave a speech about like everything about why they need to go to Iraq, convince the UN to like all of our allies to help us in Iraq. And then he like went on, then he had to like come back later, like after it was all over, like when his career was over, he had to be like, yeah, that was the worst moment in my entire career. Everything I said up there to the UN was total bullshit.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And what people don't realize too is like Iraq never recovered from that. They're still in shambles. We literally went and just butt rammed them. Yeah. We pulled that statue down though, you know.
That's crazy. Like they overthrew Saddam Hussein in like 2 weeks, and that should have been the end of it. And they're like, "Now we're staying."
Yeah, it's weird. The whole situation.
And now you have like no government there, so all these other terrorist organizations are like, "Well, we're just gonna run the country then."
I've told you about one of my first get rich quick things I went for, right?
What was it? Oh, was it the dinar?
Yeah, the Iraqi dinar.
Oh man, people are there's still people that are like, we're holding out for it, man. Like they're like, Donald Trump is for sure going to recommission it or whatever the term is for that, and it's going to be worth so much money.
Well, so when I was in 11th grade, is I a junior or a senior? I was either a junior or a senior. I think I was a junior in high school. So 2005. I don't know if you remember off the top of your head when they overthrew him, but it was around that time. It was around that time. And obviously when you overthrow the government and whatnot, the money goes to just donkey. It was nothing. It was worth literally
it's not worth anything. You can't even use it anymore. It's not not a real
it wasn't
currency.
even real currency.
But people hold them, so when they think like, oh, when it comes back it's gonna be worth so much.
Yeah, so what the selling point to us is right now you can get an Iraqi dinar for like 0.003 of a penny or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. And then the selling point was, hey, the Iraqi dinar used to almost go dollar for dollar with the US dollar. So if it comes back to where it was, you're going to get a 3,000% return on your thing. So if you put, $1 in, it's worth $3,000. I'm like, oh, I only have like $50. So I bought like $50 worth of Iraqi currency off eBay. It was like maybe $50,000 or $60,000. So in my head, I'm like, look, I just made $70,000. Like I'm rich right now.
Are you still holding it, Dad, or did you find someone to pawn it off on?
No, my dad has it in Utah somewhere. I think it's.
Yeah, I remember.
Safe
like
or something.
you couldn't go to any. You had to get it off off of shady people, because like I remember when I worked at Wells Fargo, there would always be like when people would go on like trips to Europe, we could change their currency.
Yeah.
People would come and be like, "Can I change this for Iraqi dinars?" I was like, "No." And they're like, "Why not?" Like, because it's illegal for me to give them to you.
It's not real. Well, so that's what was the sketchy part is like eBay in 2005 was like new. I didn't have I had to set up. I didn't think I had a PayPal account. So my buddy, I had to like give my money that I probably had saved up for 4 years to my buddy whose dad had a PayPal account. And then we all went in and bought dinars and split them out and thought it was like our retirement.
There's still people right now that are buying them. Think like, oh, Trump is gonna recommission the dinar and it's gonna be worth all this money. And it's like, it's not gonna happen, dude.
Well, see, in theory though, I get it made more sense than me buying cryptocurrency. Like in theory, at least this had some monetary value at some point. But yeah, you're right. You can't just because even if Trump put his own president.
It's such an easy scam if you're holding them though.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I mean, the dude that had them and got them for me, he probably didn't even pay what I paid for it. You know what I mean? I mean, they could have been fake for all I know. They still could be fake.
You could even like probably scam people and sell them for 50 cents on the dollar and be like, it's going to be worth double if they recommission it, right?
Oh, especially nowadays with how the internet works, like I could make 5 or 6 fake articles and then PR report them. So what you could do with that, there's a website called onepr.web, and you can pay like $80 to $229. And if your publication is signed by like an author, you can get it on like, I don't think Yahoo does it anymore, but you used to be able to put it on like Wall Street, Yahoo, and all those ones in like the community section, but that doesn't really matter because it will say yahoo.com/ whatever you want in a way. So you would then make your whole thing and then take your screenshot and be like, published on Yahoo, published on this. Like we used to do it for our MLM stuff, like if there was news about it being a pyramid scheme and stuff, we had to bury the news with the PR reports. And they just wrote it into the marketing budget I had.
Oh, good
it's
times,
just crazy,
man.
dude. Yeah, the dinars though, that was one of my favorite get rich quick ones because it was like my first one, and I'm like, I basically thought like I was like, okay, what do I do? Where do I sign for like my Bentley? Like I'm set, dude. And all my buddies were doing it because it was just like, whoa, man, we're gonna be rich.
I forgot the stock market's closed today, but it's been making a comeback lately.
Oh, yeah, I saw that the other day.
I was down like 15 grand like through December and January, and I got it all back now.
Isn't it crazy that some people that will like not really understand investing? I hope this isn't a Robin Hood read, so I'm probably not allowed to talk about it. That they'll pull and like when things are they're worried, they'll pull. Imagine if you would have pulled your money, you would have lost the 15, and then now
I'm gonna be what 33. There's no sense in me like pulling it out now. Like if it was going down like repeatedly, and I'm like 66 years old, I might think about like
for sure. Yeah, but from like your situation, you just proved that like it's better just to set it and forget it in a way.
Yeah.
It's just funny, man. Like it's just funny how the stock market thing, like that quick conversation that we just had, is there's somebody sitting there right now telling Trump how to spin this to be like, all right, man, you got to go out there and say how you did this so we can get some good.
The people that like day trade, they got AI doing that shit for them.
Oh yeah, like up and down.
They got like bot trading, man.
I know, that's kind of like scary. So like
it's crazy. They have basically they have like AI learning. So they had like they taught bots how to trade with other bots who were taught how to trade.
It's just stupid. Well, it's just like such an unfair advantage if you don't know what you're doing. So I was trying to pull up this link, but it was not letting me, and probably better since I'm recording. When my buddy used to sell like how to make money trading options and stuff, he was like a closer for this company. And he's like, dude, I like got the course that I'm selling. And it's so funny because like the guys that made this course and like teach it are already on to like 3 new strategies. So these poor people are coming in and they're going to start like making some money and whatnot, but they'll never catch up because the guys that teach it are already like done with, like, for example, let's say it was like a hedge situation, like strategy. Like he's like, these guys aren't even like considering using that anymore or the next one, but this is what I have to sell because they're not going to like take the time to rework the narrative and the literature. It's just funny, dude. Like those robots are always learning something. It's like how we used to always talk about the YouTube algorithm. You guys used to have to kind of try and trick it. It's always learning and changing and whatnot.
Yeah. Yep.
We just need a good get rich quick scheme.
We do, man. I told you, it's starting a religion. We got to start our own religion.
Oh yeah, dude. Now what all the tax breaks and stuff nowadays. The dude that has the jet literally bought a jet.
You can do it the Scientology way. Get a bunch of celebrities who basically donate to the church, and the church just buys stuff for them.
Oh yeah. What about remember when we talked about the flood and like Joel Osteen, and remember how much crap he got? I wonder if he ever turned that press back into good stuff.
Oh, he's like a marketing genius. How many people follow him on Twitter? I want to look at his Twitter feed right now. Let me find it.
Do you remember that though, when like he was like the church is closed and it was during the
flood? Yeah, it was during their floods. Let's see if we can find Joel Osteen on Twitter. Let's see what he's doing. Twitter. He's still on Twitter. Is he verified? He has 8.6 million followers.
8.6.
He's more of a motivational speaker, and he uses kind of religion as
I tried to pull up his Instagram. It wasn't even loading. You know who we need to hook up with our scam is get Billy Mitchell or Billy McFarland when he gets out of jail, the Firefest guy.
I think he's gonna have too much heat on him, man. We don't want that bad press.
I don't know, dude. He everyone likes a comeback story. What if he does like a charity concert or something? What's crazy is about that whole documentary and whatnot is if you look at it, and obviously it's almost like that Cheney thing. Like you have to remember like what the narrative of the movie you're watching is trying to portray, and like they're trying to portray this guy as like an idiot scammer. But at one point, you almost feel bad for him because it's like he knew he was screwed. And we don't know how hard and how many like days he wasn't sleeping at the end of that. He was probably working 18, 20-hour days at the end. Like he wasn't just sitting on his butt. Yeah. They're like, oh, and Billy just took out the jet ski. It's like, yeah, I probably would too if I knew everything was doomed at that point. 2 days before the event, you don't even have food. We need him, dude. I saw that Ja Rule tweeted or like came out and he was like, yeah, I'm not saying there won't be a fire festival too. This time it will be better and bigger. That guy's the best.
Osteen lives in a $10.5 million mansion in Houston.
10.5 mil? Dude, in Houston, that's insane. In Houston, you can get like a $300,000 house that is like 8 bedrooms. I've seen that people post them.
What a guy.
Yeah, well, Olstein, how much, dude? If he has a $10 million house, hey, how many followers did you say you have, dude? That means he's
almost 9 mil.
He's making $1 a follower, dude. That's crazy.
So the NHL trade deadline is coming up this 25th, next month, a week from today.
You nervous? How are the Wild doing this year? Are they doing bad?
Awful, dude. They're about to blow it all up. They're about to trade it.
Well, you said that. You said that it's been the same thing the last couple of years.
Yeah, so like it's so funny. Me and my buddy, who he used to live in Minnesota, we used to be really close. We still like text back and forth when the Wild are on.
Yeah.
And like the number 1 overall draft pick this year is his name is Jack Hughes. So every time we're losing, we're like, lose 4 Hughes, lose 4 Hughes.
Is there a draft?
Bud?
Can you hear me?
Hello.
I hear you still.
Hello.
You're not good. Good.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, lose for Hughes.
Is the NHL set up like football where it's last place? It's a lottery.
It's a lottery, yeah.
So it's like NBA.
Top 3 teams have like the highest odds.
That's like the Knicks, though. The Knicks are like.
Well, it's crazy. Last year, Carolina went from 10 to 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is the hockey turnaround time from like bad to good pretty easy, or is it like?
There's a lot of parity in the league right now. Like I'll look up the standings right now and tell you like how close it is. But it's close because they have overtime points. So like you get 2 points for a win, 0 points for a loss. But if you go to overtime and lose, you still get 1 point.
Oh, I see.
So it keeps the standings pretty close. Let's go NHL standings.
There's a guy who's on Twitter who's a pretty good sports bettor for hockey, and he's been betting the Blackhawks and somebody else is over goals in the first period, and it's won like 13 of the last 15 times.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of crazy. 1.5 or point. Yeah. Well, yeah, 1.5.
So right now, the Minnesota Wild, like the West is kind of really bad this year. It was just kind of why this close. Since the All-Star break, we're 1 win, 5 losses, and 3 overtime losses. It's like 1-8 since the All-Star break. We're still in the playoff spot right now by 1 point.
Oh, wow.
We have 60 points. The last place team in the West has 52.
Oh, so you can tank enough.
We'll try to get the goal is to get to last in the West. The worst team right now is Ottawa, I think. Yeah, they have 49.
When 49. Seattle gets a team, they get to pick from like how Vegas did. They get to pick some of the good teams.
So like every team will get a certain amount of players they can protect that can't be taken. So usually it's guys that are either they're superstars or they have no move clauses and things like that. So yeah, they'll get to pick a player. And here's the funniest thing ever. So Ottawa Senators might be the dumbest. They might have the dumbest GM in the league. So right now they're worst in the league, and they're probably going to get even worse because they're about to trade the player I'm about to talk about. But so they have 49 points. So the worst team by 3 points. Los Angeles is the next team behind them. So last year, where's Colorado at? They're almost in a playoff spot. So last year Colorado traded Matt Duchene, who was like their top center, traded him to Ottawa. Ottawa in return gave Colorado their number 1 overall pick this season.
Oh,
so
great.
this summer. So Colorado might make the playoffs and get Ottawa's number 1 overall pick, which will be a superstar player. And Ottawa, the guy that they traded for, Matt Duchene, he's asking to be traded.
Oh, geez.
He's not going to re-sign.
So they just double lost. Oh, no. Can they get another first for him or probably not?
Maybe, but it won't be 1 overall.
Yeah, it won't be 1 overall. That's crazy. Yeah. That's like Boston and the Nets trade 5, 7, 8 years ago. They're still – or the Knicks did it too, but Boston and the Nets, Paul Pierce and KG had maybe 1-2 years left of good basketball because they're just older. And then they traded that, and it was either 3 or 4 first-round picks unprotected. And then but it was every 2 years. So it was like the 2016, 2018, 2020, 2022 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And after those years of KG and Paul Pierce, where they were decent with Darren Williams and whatnot, they're the worst team in basketball history. And you know why? They have no picks. Now they're getting better again. But I'm saying, like, they didn't have any picks to rebuild because they gave them all to Boston, who got Tatum, all those dudes. It's just funny, man. People don't think, like, I feel like some of the GMs that like have these jobs, they think about like right now. They haven't played the video games where it's like, shit, I have to sim like 4 years in advance. I'm screwed. Like Isaiah Thomas, like, had for the Knicks like some of the worst cap players ever and trades, and then like they finally started getting better, and then they got Porzingis, and then they just got rid of him, and it's like, oh shit, what are they doing now?
Well, the Wild are kind of in a tough spot right now. So in 2012, we signed Zach Parise and Ryan Suter to identical 13-year contracts.
Yeah.
They both get like 7.5 mil. So they take up about 15 million of cap space. And the cap is supposed to go up this year, but they're in their mid-30s now, and we still have like 6 years left on this contract. And
damn, that's a long year.
So it's kind of hard to like navigate, like.
And you need more than 2 players, obviously, to win.
Yeah, it's not like the NBA where you can get just everyone's playing. So
the NBA is the weirdest in the weirdest spot right now. So my wife made a good point during the All-Star game. She didn't know it wasn't split West and East, but we were just talking, and she's like, well, why is the East so bad? And I'm like, well, and I just kind of explained it, and I'm like, I don't really have a good explanation of how we've gotten to this point.
Yeah.
But I was like, it would be so awesome if and they will never do this. It's let me live, though, people. It'd be so awesome if every team got to keep one player, right? And that was their like captain, and they literally just redrafted, like, all right, with the first overall pick, they do it like, random drawing. And it's like, all right, the Chicago Bulls have their best player, which would be Zach LaVine. And then they would probably draft, I'm assuming the Warriors would keep Curry, and then they would draft Kevin Durant, right? And then like number 2 pick is the Milwaukee Bucks, and they have Greek Freak, and then they would get to draft, I don't know, Kyrie Irving maybe. I mean, it would just be cool. Obviously, they would never do it, but it would set some sort of balance back to this league that has been dominated by 3 superstar teams and now 4.
Yeah,
but it will
crazy.
Never.
Yeah, the Wild are in a tough spot because they're still in a playoff spot. So you're thinking, yeah, we want to make the playoffs, but at what expense? Would you rather just have a fire sale at the trade deadline and just go for the top pick, or make the playoffs and get bounced in 5 games in the first round?
Yeah, see, that's like the dilemma.
Like, you don't want to be mediocre forever. I mean, the draft is a crapshoot sometimes, but like if you're picking top 5, you're definitely going to get an NHL ready player. But
well, at least you're going to get somebody that's going to sell you some jerseys and tickets, and you would think. But aren't they drafting these like young kids now? Like that kid that got drafted last year, wasn't he only 18?
Yeah, the NHL is kind of weird. So like, you're draft eligible at 18. You have to be 18 by like September 5th or something like that.
Yeah.
And so the way the NHL works is like, when you draft a player, no matter which round, you have their rights for 3 years. So you might draft a guy who's going to be a freshman at like the University of Minnesota playing hockey there. You don't have to sign him right away. You have his rights for 3 years.
Oh, so he can go play in Minnesota, and then you just have his rights for 2 years.
Yeah, so like, let's say after 2 years, you're like, okay, this guy's ready to come up he's ready for the pro level. whether it be the minor leagues or the NHL level, and then you sign them. And if you don't sign them by that 3-year period, then they can re-enter the draft.
I wish the NBA did that. That'd be sweet. That's a better system.
So even if you draft a guy in the first round, you're not gonna be like, this guy's ready to go. He might still need some development. So
yeah, so that makes sense. I didn't understand if these 18-year-old kids were coming over and like starting.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're like a top overall pick, like let's look at last year's draft.
Do they get any money? These like the kid that went to Minnesota, or is he not allowed?
I mean, no, you don't get any money until you're signed. So let's look at last year's draft and see how many players are playing this year. So 2018 entry draft. Rasmus Dahlin was the number 1 overall pick. He is playing 6 goals, 26 assists as a defenseman. So he's lit. He's really good. Carolina, Andrei Svechnikov, he has 27 points this year.
So the top few, like you were saying.
So the first round, the top, there's 4 guys that have been playing regularly on their team's lineup that were drafted in the first round last year.
Which is actually kind of crazy because that's not that many rookies. You know what I'm saying?
No one 2 through 7 has made an NHL debut yet. Now let's go to last year, 2017. Almost, I'd say about 70% of the field has made their NHL debut in the first round. Couple second round guys, 1 third round guy, 1 fourth round guy. That takes a while. So
that's interesting. I like that though.
Yeah.
I just can't wait for the Seattle to get a team, man. I'm gonna go to a couple games.
So they have to like what if the NBA? You know how like the NBA does, where like you can't get drafted out of high school now? What is it? You have to play 1 year at least.
Yeah.
What if they did something? What if they did
something?
something?
They have to.
What if they did something where 18-year-olds, like let's say, like in the World Junior or like in the juniors in Canada, like when you join your junior team, you have to be 16.
Yeah.
But in the Ontario Hockey League, you can get exceptional player status where you can start playing with 15. Like, what if the guys coming out of high school got exceptional player status and they could enter the draft?
Yeah.
They don't have to sign them right away. They can go play college basketball.
I like that way. The way I've always thought about it is, so the lottery is 13 or 14 picks for the NBA, which is all like before the playoffs team. So maybe 15 picks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I've always thought so Zion Williamson, who's it's you can make the argument that it's great for college basketball in the sense of it's very entertaining to watch him play, but you can't tell me that this kid couldn't have played in the NBA right now. Like I'm not saying he's going to be anywhere as dominant as he is in college, but you also can make the argument that he's hurting college basketball by only going for a year. So my thought was take someone. So if you're an 18-year-old, you can enter the draft, right?
Yeah.
And then do the draft. And let's say if you're picked in the lottery portion of the draft, you can go pro, right? But if you're an 18-year-old, because that's a risky pick. Like taking not that many, even when they were going like crazy, like Darius Miles year when it was like Darius Miles, like 5 guys went that were 18 from high school. Yeah. That's a risky pick still. So like maybe those 5 guys go. The rest of them can then go to college, play for a year or 2, whatever it is, and then re-enter. That way you're not getting those like pick 30. The LA Lakers, let's say they used to always do it where they would just draft one of these dudes. They'd be like, we don't really want to pay him. Yeah. And he's like a 18-year-old kid who then just gets put in the system of I'm never going to play and then is out.
Yeah.
So that would give them something like that. But I also think that basketball, for how popular it is, they do a terrible, terrible job of like a D League or like a up and coming one. So you could even start like if you could make those games entertaining, put them in 8 cities that don't have teams. I know they're trying, but like you could make it into a money pit where you're getting maybe these guys and giving them good deals to where they won't go overseas or whatever.
Or like even NBA teams, like you say overseas, NBA teams could be, if they have like a bunch of young players in their system that just are riding the bench or not getting really development time, you could have an agreement with teams in Europe. You could make like partnerships with teams in Europe and be like, look, these are our players that aren't getting a lot of time. We're going to send them over to you for the season. We still have their rights, but we want them to get some playing time. Yeah,
exactly. Because I think the problem with having it as like a D League or G League, whatever it is now, is it's like it's not good basketball. because it's like you got
so
some
like
guys,
yeah, like even if you're going over to Europe, you're playing against pro players.
yeah. So I always a very small example of this that most people won't know is CJ Wilcox is probably still one of the best basketball players I've seen in person. Played at UW. Not many people know about him, but pure shooter, scorer, whatever you want to say. He got drafted 23rd overall-ish, around there. So he's a first-round draft pick in the NBA. Only 30 of those guys happen every year. That's amazing. But everywhere he went to the Clippers, and there's 12 guys on the roster. He's the 11th best guy. You're not going to put him in a game. These guys, every NBA player now has got enough stamina. They can play the whole game if they wanted to. Obviously, they give him some breaks because it's 82-game season. So then he went to the D League, and in the D League, he was too good to play in the D League.
Yeah,
they were like, he's scoring 30 points. He's scoring 30 points a game. What do you want him to do here?
That's why I going back to the NHL draft. Sometimes they're drafting players from like all over the world, mostly Canadian juniors, U.S. college system. But also there's players that are like in Finland, Sweden, Russia, things like that, and they draft them, but they don't sign them right away. They continue to play with their team in Sweden. They're like, at least he's not playing he hasn't signed with us. He's not playing in the NHL, but he is playing in a professional league.
Yeah, that's like Rubio.
So he's playing against men. He's playing against good players. And so when we feel like he's ready to sign here, he might not have the level of the NHL, but he's been playing in a professional league.
There is some Euro guys that they'll do that with. I remember Rubio signed and he didn't come over right away. And then Rudy Fernandez is another name I can think of where I don't think he came over for like 4 years.
Yeah.
After he was drafted, 3 or 4 years. So it's weird, man. It's just I don't think there's a way. It's almost like the reset. I don't know if there's a way you can reset it now that.
Yeah. Well, that's what you're saying, like in the NBA with that one guy going to the G League and just being too good for it.
Yeah. Now he's taking away minutes from your G League guys.
Now if he's playing, like, let's say he's playing in Europe and like that's what I say with like young hockey players that are playing in Europe. You look at their stats while they're doing, they're like, wow, he's playing really well in a professional setting.
Yeah.
I think he's ready to come over here.
I mean, 31 points in a G League, it might only equate to like 7 in a Euro League.
But then you're saying like, but then if he plays a couple of years there and you see in the second year, like, oh, he's averaging 15 to 17 points in a professional setting, he could probably have some success here.
Yeah, and I think the NBA could make money even doing that, where they start getting some rights to the European games and having people overseas.
But there's it's a different. There's so many like hockey leagues around the world and different levels of play. Like Canadian juniors, you have U.S. college, you have professional leagues in Europe. And then you have like the AHL, which is the minor leagues, and there's so many levels. And you kind of find out, like when you draft a player, you kind of find out along his development, like okay, this guy's probably just gonna be a minor leaguer for his career. Like this guy can play pro, and
that's also what's crazy about the NFL is that there's like no minor league system. I mean, you could say college, but there's 220 something 27 players drafted in college every year. How many are playing out of college? How many people are playing college football? Way more than that.
Yeah,
53 on a fucking roster. That's like a conference.
There's so many more options for hockey players over because football players, you get like NFL. That's pretty much it.
That's
CFL maybe, but like in the NHL, like if you're trying to grind away, like a lot of players. That's just a fact of life. If if you're playing sports growing up, it's less than 1% of the people are going to make it to the professional level. But like, let's say you were coming up, you played hockey all your life. You got drafted to the NHL, you tried to grind your way, and you just found out you just weren't good enough for the NHL, but you were a superstar at the minor league level. You're still getting paid 6 figures.
To play what you like to play.
That's a pretty good career. Like I'm a minor league hockey player. I make $250,000 a year. That's nothing to be like, oh, you suck, never made it to the pros. But
that's like Mike Riley was the quarterback for my college. He's the number one. He was. I don't know if I believe he still is, like the number one prospect when it comes to CFL. He signed a new deal. And I talked to my other buddy. I'm like, is he ever going to think about the NFL? And he's like, no, he's at this point of his career. He's a superstar, starting quarterback. He's in the car commercials, like everyone knows him in the town. Like why would he go be a 3rd string quarterback in the NFL? Like he doesn't need to go make more money at that point.
No.
It's crazy. It's just wild times.
And it'll be tough to be a professional. So like trying to make it to the pros is so difficult.
Yeah, I always think too, like, all right, what was the best thing you were ever good at? And it's like, you can't even think about being the top 1% of that. That's insane. You
Yeah.
know? Or like even people like I knew a bunch of guys who were really good at basketball and none of them even like played in college. It's like crazy.
That's great. Like one example I like players that like you think are gonna be really good. Like there's a league in the Quebec or whatever, the French part of Canada, and it's called the QMJHL. It's like the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, and it's like a super offensive league. Like nobody plays defense there. Their goaltending is trash, and so you'll have guys that just absolutely tear up the league, and you're like, oh, this guy's gonna be a stud. He's just destroying this league. Then you get to the next level, and you're like, wow, people actually play defense in this league, and man, he's not even that good.
Yeah, he sucks. He sucks. Well, it's like I was watching wherever I was this weekend when we were like a lacrosse came on, and some dude like did like some crazy lacrosse thing, and it's like, do you ever wonder if you were born with like a talent? Sports is a different example, but like something that you would be really, really good at that you just never tried. Isn't that like weird to think about? Like you could have a hidden talent. What did I say to him? What did I say? I had a really good one where I was like, what if you were just not swimming? Swimming's a bad example, but it's like, what if you were just born with something like that and you just never knew? Like lacrosse. I feel like at someone's peak athleticism, they don't think like, hey, I'm going to go there play football or lacrosse. Like, what if you were just born naturally and never knew that like you could just do this really good and you were a born lacrosse player? Or like me, what if I was just like the first time I ever put on skates, I went over to your house and you threw me a puck, and I just was like,
how funny would that be if you were like, all right, I'm going to give you some skating pointers on how to get started. And you just walked up there and be like, oh, this is simple.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, obviously there's like, my favorite example would be swimming. Like what if, whenever I watch the Olympics and stuff, it's like, did these people just, their parents just threw them in swim class? Like I never took swim class. What if I just needed to like jump in one time and I was just a freak swimmer and I never knew? You just never know. Or like, let's do skiing. Like I've never gone skiing, but what if like my body type and brain have always just been ready to ski?
Right.
And that just would be like Bodie Miller 2.0, man. Or just the speed.
It reminds me of like, or that also like reminds that it's kind of similar, but not really. But like you could take this for any draft of any player, like NBA, football, hockey. And you'll see guys that were like drafted in like the 6th round that are like captains of their team now. You're just like, how did they miss this when they were coming up? They just develop later, like.
Are you seeing the Missouri State basketball player this year? He might be the number 2 or 3 NBA prospect taken. He didn't have an offer for schools. He's going to be a top 5 NBA pick now.
Or you look at like Carson Wentz, who like coming his draft year, everyone was like, this dude is the real fucking deal. Like he is an NFL quarterback. Why is he playing a Division II school? Like
yeah, exactly. No, it's weird. It's just so weird. No, it's oh man, there's just so many things that now I'm thinking about. My brain's doing like the spirals where it's like what if I was born to be a world-class welder, but I've never touched a welding machine? Or like what if what
if you're like the next Picasso and you just never tried painting before?
Oh, you see? Well, I know I'm not that because I can't draw for shit. But I know what you're saying. Like that's a really good example. Like,
but I mean, look, even if you're not a good drawer, what if you just went on like, I'm just gonna go where my hand wants to go. I'm just gonna go where it goes. And it's kind of like it's kind of abstract art. And someone's like, this is revolutionary stuff. I'll give you $1 million for this painting.
And they could be like so, or like I always think like piano. Like you hear stories about how kids just like walk over to a piano at 2 or 3 and they just start playing or like whatever. So what if I just needed a piano as a kid and I was just like just jamming on it? I was Justin Bieber after that. It's just weird to think about.
It reminds me of Good Will Hunting, where they're like, why are you like such like, how do you know how to do all this math? And he's like, it's like Mozart. He just like plays music. Like I just know how to do it.
Yeah. That's a great movie. Good Will Hunting. Dude. Oh, that's reminds me of The Office when he puts the like the thing on the board and he's like, a little Good Will Hunting experiment here. Where is that? Where does he write that on the board at?
He writes it in The Office.
Yeah, is that it? Oh, it's when he goes down to the warehouse. It's when he goes down to the warehouse and he puts it on the wall and he's like, just in case someone doesn't belong down here. It's just a bunch of random math equations, I think. Oh, that is funny. What a great show.
Classic.
Well, we did an hour, man.
Yeah, that's all I got, man. That's all I got. Good times.
Are you liking the new update now? It's been a week since we've talked about
it. All right. It's all right.
I just still get bopped too much.
Nah.
The king
Good
again,
times.
Bob. Well, to everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. I'm gonna hit stop on this and hope it recorded. I did a test though, so I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah. Have a great day, everyone. Good to see you. Glad to have you. See you later, Dad.
Later. I think I would end this and literally say, so goodbye. I'm hanging up on you, I think.
All right, later.
Bye.